4 kids. Did you always knew you wanted a big family?
No. So I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married.
Nobody was prepared for the shocking revelation that Ayesha Curry just made. She had no desire to have children with Steph Curry. Fans viewed them as the ideal family for years. The NBA great, his gorgeous spouse, and their cute kids. However, Ayesha concealed a truth behind those flawless grins that fundamentally alters our perception of their marriage. The shocking revelation. In one of the most talked about interviews of 2025, the wife of NBA great Steph Curry, a successful entrepreneur and mother of 4 children, spoke with Alex Cooper on the Call Her Daddy podcast. The dialogue began innocently enough. Alex Cooper offered what appeared to be a simple question, one that Ayesha had likely been asked by many interviewers before. It was the type of query that typically elicits a charming, well-known response about constantly wanting a large family.
4 kids. Did you always knew you wanted a big family?
No.
That straightforward no was only the start. What truly grabbed everyone's attention and ignited the internet was what followed.
So I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. I thought I was going to be career girl and that's it. And I had my eyes set on my goals.
Give it some time to sink in. The woman who has shown us how to successfully balance work and family. The mother who has shared innumerable moments of her children's lives with the world. And the woman who has built a beautiful family with one of basketball's greatest players, Ayesha Curry, recently acknowledged that none of this was her original plan. Now 37, Ayesha thought back to her attitude in her early 20s when she first met Steph at the youthful age of 15. She had very different dreams and was a totally different person back then.
And I was never the little girl that like dreamt about the wedding dress and all of that.
This was not merely a remark made in passing during a chat. Ayesha was not being careless or attempting to provoke people for clicks. She was talking about an essential aspect of who she was. She had high aspirations for her career in business and entertainment and was fiercely independent. Ayesha was actively pursuing an acting career during the time she is narrating. At the age of 17, she relocated to Los Angeles and completed high school ahead of schedule in order to pursue her Hollywood aspirations. In order to pay the rent on her pricey LA apartment and attend auditions, she was working 3 jobs: a frozen yogurt store, Abercrombie & Fitch, and weekend farmers markets.
Yeah, I graduated high school a year early. At the time, I was living in North Carolina. And I'd been in the industry since I was 3 years old.
Since the age of 3, she had been employed. Ayesha was on sets making TV appearances, print work, and commercials when other children were playing soccer or engaging in other common childhood extracurricular activities. This was more than a passing fad or pastime. This was who she was. All she knew and believed she could do was amuse and act.
I was always working. Commercial, print, like doing TV stuff. Always. So other kids were at like soccer, doing the extracurriculars, and I was on a set working.
Ayesha is not being dramatic when she says she did not want a husband or children. She is speaking of a person whose whole existence, from the time she was 3 years old until her late teens, had been centered on a single objective, rendering it an amusement. She did not even consider marriage or having children. The plan did not include them. They would have stood in the way of the dream she had been pursuing ever since she was able to walk.
And then it happened so early in my life. So it's like, it's one of those things like you don't know what you actually don't know what you want.
However, this is when the narrative takes an intriguing turn. It is not as if Ayesha changed her mind on her own and stumbled into marriage and motherhood. You know what? She did not wake up one day and decide, perhaps I really do want children. She attributes this total 180-degree change in her life's course to one particular trigger: falling in love with Stephen Curry. Given Ayesha's experience in the entertainment world, it is appropriate that the couple's narrative reads like something from a Hollywood romance. In North Carolina, they met at a religious youth group when they were teenagers. Ayesha had just migrated to the United States from Markham, Ontario, Canada, and was just 14 years old at the time.
Yeah, so I'm Canadian. Okay. So I grew up in Markham, Ontario, and I moved to the States at 14. to North Carolina.
One of the first individuals she met in the United States was Steph, and they became friends. Just friends because they went to the same church and had similar social circles. Just two youngsters who happened to know each other at church. No romance at 14, no turmoil around adolescent dating. Remember how Ayesha graduated early from high school just to pursue her acting career in Los Angeles years later? Steph made contact on Facebook.
That's a lie. The first message was, I was in this music video and he was like, hey, who is that in the music video, in the picture that you're in? And I'm like, oh, it's Young Berg. And he goes, oh, I should have known. He always has all the sexy ladies.
You can imagine how things ended, but now Ayesha laughs about it. In essence, this religious guy was asking her, who is that attractive girl in your picture? In his direct messages. They finally met up in person when Steph traveled to Los Angeles for basketball camps, but they were not exactly Romeo and Juliet material. Ayesha claims that they have been together since that day, thus this is where the fairy tale starts.
He hit me up 2 weeks later. We hung out and we've literally been together since that day.
Okay.
It sounds so cute that they went on their first date. They wandered around the Grove, filmed an Eddie Murphy movie that never seems to be released, walked Hollywood Boulevard, put their hands in the handprints of Marilyn Monroe, had chai lattes, and simply relished their youth and love. It was one of the happiest days of Ayesha's life, she says.
It was one of the best days of my life. Honestly, it was so innocent and young, and like, I wish I could relive that, or at least watch it from like a bird's eye view. It was so cute.
However, this is what makes Ayesha's latest disclosure so potent and contentious in the eyes of many. She made it clear that meeting Steph changed her mind about everything she had previously believed she wanted. This was more than a simple case of her changing her mind. It was about how love changed every aspect of her identity. One individual had the ability to drastically change the course of her life, and it happened very quickly. Ayesha was only 22 when they were married. Consider that, 22. At 22, the majority of people are still deciding on their major place of residence and whether or not to get a dog. The man Ayesha was marrying was on the verge of becoming one of the biggest names in professional basketball. Ayesha then discovered she was expecting Riley, their first daughter, 3 months after they were married. 3 months. She had just been married, was 22 years old, and unexpectedly became pregnant. Before she had truly gotten used to being a wife, the business lady who had never desired children was set to become a mother.
To an extent, that was never presented in front of me that way. It just kind of had to be that way. And because after we got married, we found out we were pregnant with our daughters so quickly, I didn't even have time to think about what I wanted anymore.
There was absolutely no more time for her to consider her desires. Take a moment to process that. Suddenly, the lady who had been employed since she was 3 years old, who had aspired to work in entertainment, and who had relocated to Los Angeles, especially to pursue acting, had no time to consider her own desires. In a flash, everything was different. Throughout the conversation, she went into further detail about this issue, describing how, although she now enjoyed being a mother, the adjustment was significant and occasionally difficult. She talked about the unanticipated pleasures of parenthood as well as the significant identity change that accompanied it. An identity change she never anticipated because she had no plans for any of this. What became of my objectives? What became of the person I was meant to be? Many of the ladies who saw the interview found resonance in this section. This epiphany in which you love your life and your family, but you also recognize that you have lost yourself in the process. You became a mother and a wife in every way. Even though those roles are lovely, they do not really capture your personality. In August 2025, the podcast episode was recorded. The idea that it was not always what she desired is outrageous. Other critics compared her negatively to other NBA wives, including LeBron James's wife, Savannah James, who was said to never. It is implied that Savannah is aware of her role, remains in her lane, and avoids upsetting others by expressing complex emotions over her life decisions. It was an obvious message. Ayesha ought to be more like Savannah, quieter, more appreciative, and less forthcoming about her inner conflicts. She clarified that because his world, being an NBA superstar, is so all-consuming, Steph does not quite see her motivation. His career automatically becomes the focal point of the family's universe. Because because it is at such a stratospheric level. Sometimes her goals and everything else must take a backseat. She clarified that Steph occasionally puts her family's stability ahead of the risks she faces at work. And look, you can comprehend it on one level. He is attempting to keep everything stable, keep his family safe, and keep everything functioning properly. On a deeper level, however, Ayesha's description reflects a common dynamic among women who are in partnerships with extremely wealthy men. The career of their partner is more important. The goals of their spouse come first. They prioritize their partner's needs.
It's like, he tries to resonate with me, but he just can't. And he also comes from a place of like, it's effing stupid. Like, it's not true, so why do you? And I'm like, but wait, like, listen to how it makes me feel. And he's like, but why does it make you feel like that? It's not real.
She acknowledged that therapy had helped close the gaps between them, but she nevertheless complimented their connection and called Steph her rock despite mentioning these difficulties. This detail was crucial. She was not disparaging her spouse or their union. She was being forthright when she said that even loving couples and successful marriages have conflicts and miscommunications that need to be resolved. Did Ayesha Curry disrespect Steph Curry? Was the title of a segment on the topic that aired on September 19th, 2025 on the Breakfast Club radio show. During the 10-minute conversation, hosts Jess Hilarious, DJ Envy, and Charlemagne the God dissected Ayesha's remarks and the criticism that followed. Known for his bold opinions and readiness to stand up for unpopular causes, Charlemagne the God approached Ayesha's case with his usual directness.
Well, first of all, Ayesha doesn't deserve any disrespect for her feelings, okay?
He maintained that Ayesha had every right to be honest because she was only responding to a straightforward inquiry regarding her identity shift after becoming a mother. The host acknowledged that this was not contempt but vulnerability, but with a significant distinction. He claimed that although Michelle had to deal with comparable famous dynamics as a first lady, she was not subjected to the same degree of intense female attention that Steph is subjected to as one of basketball's most adored players and greatest S symbols.
Just wasn't expecting all these whores, okay? She wasn't expecting all these whores and all of this that comes with being married to probably, to me, top 3 greatest basketball player of all time.
And then came the line that really got people's attention.
See, Barack ain't got them hoes like that.
Even though Barack Obama is well known and well respected, Charlemagne contended that ladies do not flock to him in the same manner that Steph Curry does. Steph is more than just well known. He is young, beautiful, athletic, and at the height of his popularity and profession. When Ayesha married him, she was not ready for the amount of female attention he gets, which is on a whole other level. The intensity was about to increase. Rapper Killer Mike made a comment on a TikTok sketch that went viral, ridiculing Ayesha for allegedly embarrassing Steph. This event was entirely related to the podcast Fallout. When Killer Mike chose to comment, the comedy, which was made by comedian Bookie Woods, had already received over 1.2 million views. Ayesha was harshly criticized in the video, which basically accused her of wanting to harm Steph's reputation and pursuing attention.
Ayesha Curry is putting in maximum effort to let the world know that she is struggling with trying not to cheat on her husband. And because she can just smell an opportunity to embarrass this man, because she gets on every interview telling everybody about just how frustrated she is with his success, how frustrated she is that women desire him.
When Killer Mike reacted, it appeared as though he was co-signing the severe judgment. The TikToker's review was harsh and merciless, portraying Ayesha as someone who was craving for attention and validation and who used every interview chance to humiliate her husband. My N stated she wanna go be glow, remarked Killer Mike in his comment. Steph did not deserve to be embarrassed so much, man. May God grant him blessings. The allusion to Glorilla was very strong. He was basically stating that instead of being happy as an NBA wife and mother, Ayesha preferred to be out there attracting attention like a rapper and looking for approval from random men. It was reductive, contemptuous, and emotionally charged. The comment gained hundreds of thousands of views and conversations as it swiftly went viral, spreading across other platforms. And something extraordinary occurred this time. In response, Steph Curry said, Steph wrote on X on September 18th, 2025, "No, not you, Mike. I am quiet, cool, and giving these other clowns their time. The worst of them is you. Killer Mike made a public apology on Shannon Sharp's well-liked podcast, Club Shay Shay, on October 1st, 2025. And Mike, to his credit, had full ownership of it. My oldest daughter contacted me after my wife yelled at me, and I understood that perhaps I should not have done it. God had other plans. Steph Curry, Ayesha Curry, boy. These advocates contended, and correctly so, that young women's changing perspectives on parenthood are entirely understandable and typical. They cited Ayesha's repeated explicit statements during the interview that she enjoys being a mother, that she would not alter a thing about her life now, and that her remarks were honest and reflective of personal development rather than regret or anger. The more comprehensive view. We must take a step back and consider the larger background of Ayesha's public existence, as well as the recurring pattern of scrutiny she has endured over the years, in order to fully comprehend the strong response to her remarks. Ayesha Curry has been at the heart of controversy before, and this is by no means the first time. The way we treat women who are married to well-known men, especially black women who are married to black male superstars, is really concerning when you consider all of these situations taken together. Let us go back in time to Game 6 of the NBA Finals on June 16, 2016. The Cleveland Cavaliers were defeating the Warriors. Steph was getting into foul trouble and playing poorly. Ayesha live tweeted her anguish while she was watching her husband struggle on the biggest stage in basketball. "I am sorry, but this is completely rigged for money or ratings, and I am not sure which. I have lost all respect," she stated. "Just know that I see right through all of this. I will not remain mute." Shortly later, the tweet was removed. How can she accuse the NBA of game rigging? How could she possibly imply that her husband was the victim of some sort of conspiracy? The retaliation was severe and quick.
I personally didn't like her tweet. I don't know Ayesha Curry. I feel like that job that her husband has supports a whole lot of people, including her family, his family, or whatever. Your husband goes to do a job, and to say his job is rigged is sacrificing a whole lot of folks and their livelihood.
In a subsequent apology, Ayesha told ESPN in July 2016 that she did not mean to hurt anyone and that she was just speaking emotionally and from the heart. However, the episode became part of her permanent record, and years later, people continue to cite it as proof that she should be quiet and let Steph run his business without her meddling. Ayesha then tweeted about women's wardrobe choices on December 6, 2015. "Everyone is like barely wearing clothes these days, huh?" she wrote. "It is not my style. For the person who matters, I prefer to keep the wonderful things hidden." Critics said she was evaluating women based on their dress choices and self-expression, accusing her of body policing and slut-shaming. She herself had previously posted pictures of herself in tight dresses and exposing her cleavage, as they rightly pointed out. "Who are you to criticize other women when you do not yourself?" was the message. "Do you always wear modest clothing?" Stereotypes of her as conservative, critical, or anti-feminist were strengthened by the dispute. In a 2022 interview, Steph defended her, arguing that people were reading too much into a straightforward personal statement and that she had every right to express her opinions. Ayesha spoke with Adrienne Bailyn, Jada Pinkett Smith, and other women who are married to or dating professional athletes about their particular struggles, the demands they endure, and what it is actually like to be in their shoes. Ayesha said something during this open discussion that many women experience but are scared to express aloud.
Something that really bothers me and honestly has given me a sense of a little bit of an insecurity is the fact that there are all these women throwing themselves, but me, the past 10 years, I don't have any of that. I have zero, this sounds weird, but male attention. And so then I begin to internalize it, and I'm like, is something wrong with me?
You're not looking.
What?
There was something she was being frank about that most people would never say in public. As she watched countless women fling themselves at her husband, she felt insecure about not getting male attention. She was eviscerated, instead being commended for her honesty and candor. The responses varied from teasing to outright rage. Given that she is married to Steph, how can she seek attention from other men? Is not she aware of her good fortune? She knows that millions of women would kill to be in her shoes, does not she? The message underneath was obvious. Quit talking, express gratitude, and quit making your husband feel uncomfortable by being needy. With elegance and dignity, Ayesha replied on Instagram. "I am a human. I have never been one to suppress my emotions." She refused to back down from her candor, expressing a real, genuine emotion that most people can identify with on some level if they are honest with themselves. She believed that someone had taken advantage of her weakness. Her words were distorted to produce a story that did not accurately reflect the entire exchange or her true emotions. All of these occurrences point to a troubling trend. Examine her treatment in comparison to other NBA wives or sportsman wives generally. They are frequently commended for their loyalty or strength when they speak up. Ayesha is instructed to keep quiet and to respect her boundaries when she speaks up. It is interpreted as passion when other women voice their opinions regarding sports or officiating. It is considered overstepping when Ayesha does it. It is impossible to overlook the obvious double standard. The irony of all this criticism is that Ayesha has subtly amassed an extraordinarily remarkable empire of her own throughout these contentious years. She is more than just the spouse of Steph Curry. In her own right, she is a philanthropist, media personality, novelist, and prosperous businesswoman. She has written popular cookbooks such as, most significantly, she and Steph co-founded the Eat, Learn, Play Foundation, which gives children in the Oakland Unified School District access to safe play areas, high-quality nourishment, and education. She embodies all of Ayesha's youthful dreams of becoming a successful, versatile professional woman who makes a difference in addition to becoming a wife and mother. She was not forced to pick between the two. Despite the fact that it was not simple and that she is frequently criticized for attempting, she managed to accomplish both. Ayesha thought deeply about how people questioned her ability to work and pursue goals other than being a wife and mother during the Call Her Daddy interview.
Oh, how does it feel to be said person's wife and also work? And I'm like, what? So I think there's a stigma out there that people don't do.
Stereotype that NBA spouses do not work or have their own goals and accomplishments was strongly refuted by her.
These women aren't doing anything. That's not true. There's so many women doing incredible things.
This annoyance is clear and entirely understandable. Why should she not set her own objectives? Why should not she want to construct her own thing? Why should she have to remain on the sidelines and simply be thankful for her husband's success? The questions that Ayesha is posing are ones that millions of women in diverse situations may identify with. Ayesha's discussion of the vital significance of preserving her individuality apart from being a wife and mother was perhaps the most moving.
If you lose all of those things that were interesting about you, even for yourself, like even the things that made me feel confident and cool, then what are you doing?
Through all these years and all these controversies, this is the essence of what she has been attempting to convey. She does not lack gratitude. She is not attempting to make Steph look bad. She is not unhappy with her life. She is merely expressing that she is more than just a mother and wife. The aspects of myself that make me feel like myself must be preserved. And that is perfectly okay. It is actually essential and healthy. And what do we make of this then? When you listen to the entire interview and consider the whole context, Ayesha Curry's admission that she never wanted children is not really a revelation at all. It is an honest portrayal of a woman whose dreams changed organically over time, who fell deeply in love and created a different life than she had dreamed of as a young woman, who has battled to maintain her identity while married to one of the most well-known and acclaimed athletes in the world, and who has put in a great deal of effort to create a successful career for herself in spite of particular difficulties and ongoing public scrutiny. For more, click on the card that is displayed on your screen, much like in this video.